Thank you for joining me for this celebration of the 9th of May. As you know, the 9th of May is a very special day in the European Union's calendar. The 9th of May is Europe Day, the day on which the first step was taken towards the creation of the European Union. And this year, 2020, is a particularly important day as it marks the 70th anniversary of the declaration made by the French Foreign Minister at the time, Robert Schuman, announcing the creation of the European Coal and Steel Community, the first of the European communities with a common market. Now, why is this significant? It's significant because 6 European countries took a leap of faith only 5 years after the Second World War to trust each other enough to put their resources together and make sure that they would never again use coal and steel, the main inputs for military armament, to fight each other in a war. This was one relatively small but ultimately hugely significant step that would lead to the creation of the European communities and later to the European Union, and that would deeply transform the European continent for the better, leading to an unprecedented period of peace, economic growth, welfare and prosperity. So why does this matter to Kenya? First, it marked the awakening of a new conscience in Europe about the importance of mutual respect towards each other in Europe, but also as well as respect for other countries in the globe. The guiding message was, and still is, and is ever more important today, that cooperation works well for all, whereas disagreement and conflict weakens all. It means that we now seek partnership with others instead of political or economic hegemony. The development of this new, better European conscience throughout the 50s, 60s and beyond also coincided with a period of decolonialization in Africa but also elsewhere. European countries recognized that they needed to stop exploiting other countries and rather work together with them in a spirit of partnership and recognition. The EU also realised and underlined the value system of respect for human, social and economic rights of Europeans and of others, and the European Union today is the manifestation of Europe's better conscience. Second, the European Union has become a model of regional integration that is followed globally by many other regions. This applies, for example, to the East African community, of which Kenya is a key participant and some would say the main driver, with the customs union, the common market, and one day perhaps the monetary union of the East African community closely resembles the steps that have been taken by the European Union in the past 70 years. Third, I think the European Union and its member states historically have been Kenya's biggest development partner since your independence. The EU is also today Kenya's biggest trading partner, particularly for your exports, and we are also collectively the largest source of foreign direct investment in Kenya, with many hundreds of thousands of jobs depending directly upon this foreign direct investment. Fourth, we share the same values of democracy and pluralism, the freedom of the media, which we celebrated last Sunday with World Press Freedom Day, and particularly in these challenging times, adherence to multilateralist values. If we are to face up to the challenges of this century, one of which is clearly lifting developing countries out of poverty, responding to climate change and reducing its ill effects, overcoming the challenges of population growth, resource scarcity and associated insecurity in the coming decades, the only way forward is cooperation with each other and together. And Kenya is a leading light in Africa on multilateralism. It plays host to 2 key United Nations agencies. Finally, I couldn't address you today in this particular year without referring to the virus that has affected us all across the globe, in Kenya, as well as in Europe, as well as in Asia, as well as in America. As the saying goes, a friend in need is a friend indeed. And as many of you may be aware, the EU stands in solidarity with its partners in the world and in particular with Kenya. In early April, we mobilised some 15 billion euros of support for developing countries around the world, both for the health response as well as for measures that will eventually facilitate economic recovery. This is very much the case in Kenya, where we have mobilised some 300 million euro, so that's around 35 billion shillings to support Kenya. Now, what is important to the EU here in Kenya is that we move away from a donor recipient relationship. We want to continue to work closely with you in a spirit of friendship, and we want to build a close and strategic partnership with your country, your citizens and your government, based on our shared values in which we meet as equals. Now, concretely, this means that the EU wants to be a facilitator in Kenya's growth. We want to support the creation of jobs for its young people. We want to support the opportunities for young people to go and study abroad in the European Union. We want to support your fight against corruption, your fight against poverty, and the development of good governance. We also want to continue to be your main economic partner, based on a partnership and based on a shared respect for human, economic and social rights. Today, though, I simply want to invite you to follow and enjoy the virtual programme we have put on for Europe Day, including the cultural events, video clips and quiz. Happy Europe Day, and I look forward to celebrating it in person with you all next year. Thank you.